Brooklyn, New York. Tall buildings, bustling streets, bright shop lights. Amidst this city lived Kate, a successful marketing executive at a prestigious company. She was 30, married to Jason, the owner of a small construction firm. On the surface, their life seemed perfect. A luxurious apartment downtown, weekend at cafes and theaters, new cars. But behind the facade of luxury lay emptiness. Jason was an attentive husband, yet his work and constant business trips left Kate alone. It was in this loneliness that she met Thomas, a photographer and gallery owner, who appeared at one of the exhibitions where Kate was presenting her company's advertising campaign. Thomas was different. He spoke simply and sincerely, making Kate laugh and feel alive. Their connection started as friendship, discussing art, books, walks in the park. But soon she realized she was looking forward to these meetings more than she should. One evening, after the gallery closed, Thomas offered to walk her home. The rain drizzled. Streets glistened under the lamplight. And there, under the gentle veil of rain, something happened that Kate hadn't expected. Their hands brushed accidentally, and this small accident turned into a kiss. Kate knew it was betrayal, yet at the same time, she tasted a freedom she had long been missing. Meanwhile, Jason began noticing changes. Kate stayed late at work more often. Her phone was always with her, and her smile had become light and mysterious. He remained silent. He waited, because when he discovers the truth, the reckoning will be cold and merciless. Autumn in Brooklyn brought a crispness to the air and a golden glow to the streets. Kate was staying late at work more often and finding reasons to meet Thomas. They wandered through quiet streets, stopped at small cafes, discussed exhibitions and books, sometimes just sitting side by side, silently watching people. Each meeting was filled with tension and passion. Kate knew she was playing with fire, but what frightened her most was not guilt. It was how much she longed for these moments. Jason, for his part, was not blind. He began noticing the changes. The phone that used to lie on the table was now always with Kate, a faint scent of a new perfume, unexpected late-night outings, her gaze sometimes drifting into emptiness. He stayed silent, but his silence was loud, carrying a cold attentiveness, a readiness to act. One evening, Kate returned home after meeting with Thomas. The apartment was quiet. Jason sat in an armchair with a glass of whiskey. He looked up and said, "You're late." Again. Kate smiled, trying to hide her anxiety. The meeting ran long. He nodded, but his eyes never left her. There was an icy look in them, saying more than words ever could. Jason knew. He was simply waiting for the moment to show that betrayal comes at a price. Kate did not yet know that her secret meetings had already set in motion a chain of events that would turn her life upside down. Jason did not act impulsively. He knew that a hasty reaction would ruin everything and might leave undesirable traces. So he watched. He followed Kate with quiet caution, as if studying a chess game. Every movement, every phone call, every new scent on her clothes. He committed it all to memory. One day he noticed that Kate frequently called someone named Thomas. He pretended not to notice, but he recorded each call and checked the messages she left on the screen. At work, he began asking detailed questions about her plans, sometimes forgetting to pick her up from the office, observing her reaction. She seemed innocent and confident, but in his eyes, she was like an open book. Inside, Jason was already formulating a plan. He did not want a scene. He did not want screams or tears. He wanted Kate to feel the cost of her betrayal herself, step by step, losing control over her life. And while Kate sank deeper into her relationship with Thomas, unaware that her husband already knew everything, Jason quietly prepared for reckoning. Kate was sinking deeper into her meetings with Thomas. She thought her secret remained hidden, that Jason was too busy to notice anything. But her husband was patient. On Friday evening, he said to her, "Tomorrow I'm heading to the site. I'll be back late." Kate smiled with relief, thinking about meeting Thomas. But Jason knew she would go to him, and he made it part of his plan. He had hired a private detective to follow her movements. Every photo, every minute of her time with Thomas was recorded. Jason gathered evidence silently, without yelling or accusations, creating a cold and precise picture of betrayal. When Kate returned home, Jason greeted her with a calm smile. "How was your day?" he asked. "Fine," she replied, trying not to show her anxiety. He nodded, but his eyes were cold as ice. On the kitchen table lay an envelope. Inside was a photograph. Kate and Thomas on a balcony in the city center, embracing. She froze. Her heart raced. Fear gripped her body. "Eric," she began, but Jason simply said calmly, "Look, now you know that I know." For the first time, Kate felt that the game was over. The next day, Kate woke with a sense of unease that never left her for a moment. She felt Jason watching her every move, yet he said nothing. His silence proved more terrifying than any scream. It started with small things. He gradually restricted access to their joint accounts, leaving her only minimal funds for daily expenses. He gave no explanation, but each refusal was cold and precise. Then Jason began to affect her work. He contacted her management, subtly hinting at possible breaches of corporate ethics and trust. Colleagues started to distance themselves from Kate, and her respect within the company began to crumble. Next, he acted even more subtly, first on the streets, then on social media. He spread anonymous hints about her betrayal, which impacted Kate's friendships. Her friends began keeping their distance, and meetings with Thomas became impossible. Kate felt her world collapsing layer by layer. She called Jason, begging for forgiveness, tried to regain control, but he answered only quietly and calmly. "You chose this path, Kate. Now live with the consequences." Every word of his was cold and precise, like a gunshot. He did not shout or threaten. He simply dismantled her life methodically, step by step, showing that the price of betrayal was higher than she could have imagined. For the first time, Kate realized that retribution could be slow and merciless. Kate was losing control over her life more and more. Each day brought new restrictions and blows to her reputation. She could no longer meet Thomas. He no longer answered her calls. Her friends had vanished, and colleagues kept their distance. She tried pleading with Jason for forgiveness. "Please, Jason, I realize my mistake. I'm ready to make things right," she begged, tears streaming down her cheeks. He listened calmly, without emotion. "You wanted freedom and passion?" he said quietly. "Here's your price." Kate was losing control over her life more and more. Each day brought new restrictions and blows to her reputation. She could no longer meet Thomas. He no longer answered her calls. Her friends had vanished, and colleagues kept their distance. She tried pleading with Jason for forgiveness. "Please, Jason, I realize my mistake. I'm ready to make things right," she begged, tears streaming down her cheeks. He listened calmly, without emotion. "You wanted freedom and passion?" he said quietly. "Here's your price." Kate felt the ground vanish beneath her feet. She was no longer the master of her own life. Money, work, relationships, friends, everything was slipping away. Her fear and panic grew, while Jason remained a cold observer, taking satisfaction in her mounting anxiety. At night, lying alone in the bedroom, Kate for the first time reflected on the fact that her former life was gone forever. Everything she considered safe and familiar had now turned into emptiness. Jason was not cruel. He was calculated. His revenge was not impulsive. It was slow and methodical. And for the first time, Kate realized the price of betrayal was far higher than she could have imagined. December had arrived. Kate stood by the window, watching the gray streets of Brooklyn being covered in wet snow. Inside the apartment, everything felt cold and unfamiliar. Her familiar life had collapsed. Friends had vanished. Colleagues had turned away. Thomas no longer answered, and her financial freedom was completely gone. Jason sat in the armchair across from her, quietly observing. "You understand now," he said calmly, "that everything has consequences?" Kate could not answer. Words caught in her throat. She looked at the husband she once loved and felt fear for the first time, fear of having no control over the situation. "This is not the end," he continued. "This is a lesson. You wanted passion and freedom. Here is your price." In that moment, Kate fully realized her life had been destroyed not by chance, but methodically. Jason did not shout, did not stage scenes, did not hurl accusations. He used silent power and precise actions to show that betrayal always leaves deep scars. The snow continued to fall, cold seeping into the rooms, and Kate, alone in the vast apartment, felt true emptiness for the first time. Everything she held dear was gone. She was left alone with the consequences of her choices. And in that cold, among silence and empty rooms, she understood. The price of betrayal is higher than anything she could have imagined. A month had passed since Jason completed his retribution. Winter in Brooklyn was cold. The gray streets seemed even emptier, and the falling snow covered the city with a soft blanket of silence. Kate now lived alone. She realized that her former life was over, and the past could not be restored. But along with the emptiness came awareness. Mistakes, betrayal, loss, all that became a lesson, bitter yet honest. She began to recover slowly. First, small steps, walks around the neighborhood, meetings with colleagues who had not completely turned away, exercising, activities she had once postponed. Then new projects at work, where she could prove herself without unnecessary emotions or distractions. Every day she remembered that the price of passion and lies is high. And now Kate knew that true strength does not lie in revenge or retaliation, but in the ability to rise after fall. The past remained behind her. She had not forgotten the lessons brought by betrayal, but now she could move forward, cautiously, consciously, with respect for herself. And on that quiet winter night, when the snow reflected the lamplight, Kate felt a lightness she hadn't felt in a long time. She understood that despite the pain, loneliness, and losses, life goes on, and now her future was entirely in her own hands.